energy and soul to go do to do these things that are social and out there, but I wanted the result. And when you know that you want the transformation, and that transformation is important enough to you, you'll do the work to make it happen, however uncomfortable it is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, do you find that it becomes more comfortable to throw yourself out there after doing it a few times? Or is it equally as difficult now as it was at the beginning?
I think it takes a lot of repetition to reduce it. And it's still, I will say, everything I do is still stressful and uncomfortable, but I have more stamina. So it's kind of like if you start running and, let's say you can't make a mile at first, maybe you can only do, 200 kilometers or something, 200 meters before you go and you're pooped and you need to take a break.
Right.
Then the next time you go, you can go, 400 meters, and you just keep extending it a little bit. You're still going to get pooped at some point. There's a point where you're running and you get tired and you have to stop. You need a break. But as you keep working at it, it takes time, and you can run a little bit more. I actually experienced this in practicing to run my first 5K. So you do, your yeah, it was really great. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like life. I can run a little bit. I started off, I couldn't do anything. I was very embarrassed to the trainer how quickly I got tired. But they give you little bit by little bit to get you to the point of being able to run your first 5K. So some people refer to it as couch to 5K for all the lazy people that haven't exercised in years that really want to do something to take massive action to change themselves. But that stamina builds up. So now I can handle a lot more, and it's almost like a mindset clicks in me. I do spend most of my time alone and working on my computer. And then when I go and I do these things where, maybe I'm speaking somewhere, maybe I'm, hosting these events that are still really vulnerable for me, my mind clicks, the stamina kicks in, and I'm able to really push forth the best of myself for several hours. And I've been challenged now because of some conferences that I had to be a part of to maintain that energy for about 5-hour stint. So I think that's about my limit now, but my limit at one point was 2 hours. That's a good amount of time, right?
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. I can't do it all the time.
That's okay. That's okay. And it's interesting too, as you were talking about that, I was thinking about you planning events. To a certain extent, being an event planner is behind the scenes and pushing other people forward. So that was probably a perfect job for you in a lot of ways, that you could do some of that behind the scenes work and just put yourself out there in those little snippets and then be able to relax. But again, what a gift to know yourself and to know what you need, and to have the courage to push yourself and to allow yourself to expand, because now there's more you can do. And you talked about when you really want something, you do it. Oh, amen to that. Yes, we can do anything if we really want it. Now,
absolutely.
In creating Women of Denver, did you have the vision up front of where it was going to be? Or did you just kind of think, I need to create something, I'll just throw it out there and see what happens, and it swept you up in it?
It swept me. That was an interesting way of putting it there. I believe the members created Women of Denver. And to be honest, I actually tried to stop after maybe 4 months of it, where I had been hosting these events at a coffee shop near where I lived. And I felt that I had built the community. I said, oh, this is great. Now I have people. I don't have to do this anymore. This is wonderful. And then I didn't do it for, I think it was 2 months. And people started writing me that had participated and said, hey, Krystal, when are you going to have an event again? And I realized, oh, okay, this wasn't just me looking for this. They need it too. And so I started something more organized. And I put it on, there's a website called meetup.com where people can organize things. And because it is a lot to maintain contacts of people who've shown up and try to, send them the invite and everything. But if you invite people through Meetup, then they can just be a part of it. You post the event and they get a notification. But then when you join Meetup, other people that are in this network already start coming in. So then next thing I knew, it was bigger than life. I remember the first time I realized how big it was now getting, where I had my normal coffee shop space where it was it was like they reserved a back area with some sofas, and they would, the coffee shop let you have it for free, knowing that people are going to buy coffee and things like that. So I would always book this one spot. And it was always on a Sunday because I had a full-time job.
Right.
And it wasn't yet flexible, but the folks showed up. I thought it was going to be like normal, 5 to 8 people. 8, it was a lot if we got that many. And 30 women showed up, and I had to try and facilitate this. And I was just astonished the entire time. I could not believe all those women were there. The coffee shop could barely handle getting people their drinks and food. And I looked around, I realized how challenging that was. And I said, I need to do something different. Because this isn't going to work if this many people are interested in this experience.
Right.
So I started talking to people who had led successful organizations in the past and learning how they organized it all, and starting to put plan to action of, this is how I'm going to organize this, and putting it out there little by little and saying, okay, you guys, here's a membership booklet, and this is what this is how we're going to do things.
This is real.
Yeah. So, it was a little by little process of kind of organizing things, finding different spaces, finding different, event strategies that made it work and kept people feeling engaged, and then talking to people who would give me tips and tools for how to make it work. But it was definitely an interesting transition in creating all that, even having been an event planner, because it is so behind the scenes. You just do what somebody else is looking for you to do. They tell you their vision and you make it happen, and you say, see, I did it. And they
Exactly.
go, wow, this is better than I imagined. Yeah. Now I'm going with my own vision and my members' vision, of everything. I had to be the visionary of it, but I had to look to them to decide, what are they responding to and how are they connecting to it? And I feel like what gave me the most success, and even today, what brings me success, is the fact that I still talk to my members and I ask them, how do you like this that I did? Because people won't tell you what to do necessarily, but they'll respond to what you're putting together, and they'll tell you. And my members have been really vocal in telling me, Krystal, I didn't like that. I think that people didn't respond well to this or that. And people give me advice. I have people that take this organization really seriously, and they put a lot of energy into helping me to mold it. And so I always say that the members have been the greatest advocates in creating what we have here, because it's been, maybe it was my vision of kind of saying, this is what I think works, but it's their response of how what they shared with me, how they responded to things that helped to create how it ended up.
That's amazing, because so many of us, first of all, as women, and I do think this tends to be a woman's thing, we don't ask for help. We think, I'm going to do it all. I'm going to do it all at home. I'm going to do more at work because I don't want people to perceive me as being weak or being needy. And we do all of this stuff. We do. And when you said you sought out help from other people who had created organizations, bravo for that, because that makes it easier and other people have traveled this path. And how wonderful that you were self-aware enough that you stepped out and asked for help and didn't think, oh yeah, I can do it, I'm an event planner, whatever. One, you recognized and you asked for help, and that's going to make it easier. And then two, along the way, even though you have the successful organization, you still reach out to the members and get information and apply that information. Because in the work that I do around leadership and leaders, that's kind of that missing component with a lot of true leaders. They may or may not ask for true, honest feedback. And even when they receive it, then they don't do anything about it. So what's the point?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then people won't continue to bother to share anything with them if they're not taking it seriously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then that cycle of negativity begins, and that cycle of tuning out and sort of showing up, but not really. Because it's my belief that every organization, whether it's a business or a social organization or a school or anything, has the potential to be great as long as you've got the buy-in of all the members.
Exactly. That makes such a big difference. If you're just putting together something that you think that you want, it can work, but it might not. And if you're not getting feedback, you're not going to be able to adjust. I see a lot of people that start things that fail, whether it be a business or some sort of coordinated effort, something like Women of Denver, things like that. You know, they fail because they're not getting that feedback. They're not adjusting to what people are looking for. And there's new tactics that keep coming up. Like I'm learning about things like design thinking and all these different ways that, especially these tech companies, because they have to continue molding to what people are doing, or they fall apart very quickly. But there's so many tactics right now that people are learning that just teach them how to listen to the people they're serving. How do you find out what they want, and articulate it, find out how to articulate it in a way that helps you to create a product or a service or whatever that really connects with them and really is something that they value. And people aren't always, I'll say one thing that was challenging is people aren't always sure what they really want. For example, I had, before that day where 30 people showed up at the coffee shop, I had done a little survey asking people what days work for you. And most people overwhelmingly said Sundays don't work. And I stuck with Sundays. I said, you know what, this works easiest for my work schedule. So I said, okay, well, I'll stick with Sundays, knowing that these people are saying that Sundays are bad. But then they all showed up. So I said, okay, well, I have to pay attention to what people do and not necessarily always what people say. So it's about kind of not just listening to people and what they say, but really paying attention and watching trends and watching how people behave, so you can serve them in the way that truly is the most useful.
Right. Yeah, that totally makes sense. So you went from 8 being a really good number to, what is the number of Women of Denver members now?
Oh gosh. There are thousands of women each year that come through our events, and hundreds of our premium members. So basically, there's most events, there's most of the people in the room I do not know. And I try my best to get to know the people who are coming on a regular basis, because I feel like if you're dedicated and you're